We're gonna start with a little toast.
What's a toast to, Wilmer?
Today, I'd like to toast to fatherhood.
Because we are both fathers.
That's right. I am Wilmer Valderrama.
I'm Freddy Rodriguez.
Welcome to Dos Amigos.
Yes.
Your podcast from us to you. Thank you to everyone. I continue to practice my gratitude because you could be listening to a tsunami of podcasts, but here you are listening to our humble thoughts
with these guys.
With our beautiful team here at WB Sound. Shout out to all of our beautiful friends at iHeart Media for making this available everywhere you get your podcast. So definitely tell a friend. But we're happy to be back here at the Speakeasy.
Yes.
And, like two puppies. We are drinking what?
Un poco de cafecito.
Un cafecito, papachito.
By the way, Wilmer made this coffee.
I did.
He has a pretty sophisticated, as the Speakeasy is pretty sophisticated, you got to see his coffee system upstairs. Equally as sophisticated.
I think I started overdoing it when I asked my mom, like I was talking to my mom about her life and blah, blah, blah. And remember I told you guys a couple episodes ago, I talked about like my grandfather was a coffee roaster, coffee cultivator, coffee farmer. And I was like, whoa, it's in my blood. So like I tripled down on the caffeine every day. He was like, oh, but it's like me. It's like I'm a dolphin, right? I can swim underwater. Like it's like I should drink a lot of coffee. So easy on the dark roast over there, everyone, because it could definitely give you some anxiety. It's like having like a really dark cigar. Yeah, you don't know what you're getting into until like 3 puffs in, and you're like, what's happening? I'm like really drunk, And
have you always been into coffee?
Yes, I guess I was. I was at a very younger age, but I never. You know what it is? I drank it ceremonially. I never drank it because I was like, oh, I'm low energy. I need it. Right. And I think I got so accustomed to it now that I feel like, oh man, like I really need a coffee when I'm at work. As soon as like 2 p.m. hits me, I need a coffee. Like
how many do you have a day?
Let's see. I think I do 3.
3. Even when you're not working, 3?
No, when I'm not working, I forget it.
Completely.
Yes, but I think I'm on set and I walk by it and I'm like, a little warm coffee or something would be kind of nice and comforting while you're in between scenes or whatever, But speaking of comforting, fatherhood.
Fatherhood is comforting.
You is someone. You is someone that I really respect and admire. You've said some really beautiful, wonderful things about fatherhood to me. Yeah. Especially at the beginning, when Nakano was so young and we would reconnect on those things and, we would have dinner and we'd talk about fatherhood and you have had quite a run at it. Yeah. So I have more questions than answers. In this podcast, for me, it's about like getting in the mind of raising strong, beautiful, thoughtful man, which your kids, thank you, happen to be, and also in partnership with your beautiful wife, who is just another savage.
I concur.
She's one of the most incredible people ever.
Thank you.
So it's no surprise that your kids are awesome. But thanks, Tom, do you mind sharing with all of us? Sure. The moment you were like, the moment you found out you were going to be a father?
Yeah, I was 19 years old. I was living in Chicago, and I was going through this sabbatical year where I was done with high school, and I was expected to go to college right after high school, and I didn't. I convinced my dad to let me have a year to just sort of pound the pavement and see if I could make something out of acting. And nothing was happening, and I was going to go back to school. And 3 things happened in my life that were pivotal. One was I got my first movie, so I had the opportunity to go pro. The second thing was I was going to get an offer to perform at the Goodman Theater, which was our Broadway, and it was an opportunity and a lifelong dream for me to achieve something. The third thing that happened was my girlfriend at the time, who is my wife now of almost 30 years, became pregnant. So I had these 3 major things happen in my life. And I was a kid. I was 19 years old. I was still living at my parents' house.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And I had some decisions to make, as you could imagine.
Yeah.
But I remember her telling me, and I don't know if it was because of how I grew up. There was never a question about whether we were going to keep it or not.
Right.
I was like, okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to have it.
Yeah.
And I remember going to my parents, and they weren't disappointed. I just remember my father looking at me and in his own words saying, well, now you've got to be responsible. That's it. It wasn't like, are you going to keep it? Are you not? Are you going to do this? He was just like, now you're carrying on the family name, the family legacy, and now you have to be responsible.
Right.
Because that's the thing that has been passed down from generation to generation within our family.
What did you think he meant when he said responsible? How did you translate that at 19?
I thought he meant responsible in the way that he was responsible as it came to parenting myself and my brothers.
Yep.
And so now was my turn. Now he was passing the baton of responsibility to me. And I understood right away. And I just sort of took to it right away. I don't know why. Maybe it was naivete or ignorance. Ignorance is bliss, right? I just said, all right, we're going to do this, And I went off to go do my first 2 movies, and I came back, and Elsie gave birth to our first child, Giancarlo.
Wow.
And 3.5 years later,
and she was
Elijah
living
was
with her family at the time.
She was living with her family too. Yeah, wasn't planned, right? But that's how God works, right?
Sure, sure.
What's that saying?
In many ways, it's interesting too. I'm sorry.
No. What's that saying? You make plans and God laughs. I think some saying like
yes,
that.
Yes.
But it wasn't planned. It just happened, and we accepted the responsibility.
It's so interesting too because you think about the word serendipity, right?
Yeah.
And you also think about what it meant in that moment that you both were at home with capable parents, young enough parents to say, we're going to hold you down here. You know what I mean? We're going to hold you down.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, we're going to keep holding you up, And so in many ways, the fact that she was still with her family and you were still with your family, you had this extended support. Have you ever wondered what if like you had to be on your own, the two of you guys? Like,
no, I never really thought about it. My family was always there. My parents were always there. Her parents were actually in Puerto Rico. She was living with her sister, which caused. Because her parents.
I thought her parents were the.
No. Elsie's parents.
How old was her sister?
Her sister Gladys.
How much older?
Just a couple of years older. And then she has an older. So her sister was responsible for her. She was living with her sister. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she was pregnant.
You're like, what does your future husband do? He's
an actor.
Have I seen him in anything? Well, I mean, not yet.
He did a Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial. No, but here's the thing. My cousin, my first cousin, married Elsie, my wife's sister. And that's kind of how we met. We met at the wedding about 4 or 5 years prior to that.
Wow.
So they knew her family knew my family. So it's not like I was some deadbeat off the street.
No,
they knew our family. So I think that was maybe some of the cushion or the buffer for the news was like, okay, well,
at least we know the guy.
We know the guy. We know his family. He comes from a responsible family. So obviously the news was not well received. I don't think anybody who
I mean, at that point, you want your kids to have a little bit more runway, right, to do what they got to do. But in retrospect, you were still using the runway to build. So it's not like it derailed you. Yeah. It's like in so many ways, I feel like early parenthood can really be kind of like a challenge to kind of navigate as you're trying to get to your next thing, or as you're maturing into adulthood, you're trying to figure out what am I as an adult,
right?
What does responsibility mean now that I have a kid at this early age? Yeah, and I got to start making money.
Yeah, and sometimes having a child derails people's plans.
Right.
right? Because sometimes you need the freedom of life in order to take chances
Sure.
at your dreams, and when you're only responsible for yourself financially, which makes it a lot easier for you to take those chances. All of a sudden, I was responsible at 19 years old for 2 other people.
Right.
You know, but and I'll tell you, and I don't mean to get spiritual here, man, but it was God's grace, man, all the way, because like the timing of me getting those movies when my wife became pregnant was like it was a 1 in a million chance, you know. If I wouldn't have landed those 2 movies because I was having a child, I probably would have stayed in Chicago. Maybe I would have been doing theater. Maybe I would have given up my dream completely. I mean, I don't know. I had a responsibility before me that I had to step up and provide for, you know. But it all happened at the same time, which led me to believe that it was the big man's plan.
Right.
And that's the way it was meant to be.
Right.
And so, you know, so then we had the child, we got married, and both came out to LA at 20, 21 with a child. And it was probably why I remember we had this conversation because we've known each other so long, and we're at dinner. I think the time we went with Jay, we were talking about hanging out in the early 2000s or the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
When we were like, oh, you remember this place or this club or whatever?
And you're like, no, I don't remember it.
I don't know.
That's right.
I don't remember it because I was at home like playing with Hot Wheels on the floor while you guys are...
more primitively, I'd like to ask you a question because I know how it felt like to me.
No, you're right, please.
No. The question is, were you in town when she gave birth?
Yeah.
So what happened the moment you held your child?
Oh, wow.
Like, I always talk about it like something uploads that's just been in there and it only triggers when you have a kid. That you have something, there's another version of Freddy inside of you that only unlocks and engages and uploads the moment you hold your child. Like, what was it? What was that feeling? What woke up in you?
Yeah, I don't know about you, and I want to hear this from you as well if this happened to you, but a few things happened. One is I felt a love that I've never felt before. It's a different kind of love. You ever watch nature videos? You ever see sort of the wolf pack?
Yes.
And the mama wolf?
The Nat Geo stuff, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you see like the mama wolf with her cubs, and she sees someone approaching, and in an instant, she's ready to die.
Yeah.
She's ready to attack you and die for those cubs. That natural instinct inside of you all of a sudden wakes up. And you look at this child and you're just like, I'm ready. I'm ready to freaking kill somebody for you, right?
Yeah.
And so that natural animalistic instinct, I think, kicks in. For me, it did.
Right.
And the same amount of love kicked in. And this sort of maybe genetic, primitive, sort of caveman instinct to go out and hunt and bring back the meat to the cave, kicks in.
Where are you going? Into the woods. For what? I'm bringing a buffalo home. You know?
You bring it home.
But you only have a stick. Don't worry about it. You know.
Yeah. Did you feel the same way when you're?
Yeah. You know, and I've described it.
Okay, we'll go from the beginning though. How? Your wife is magnificent.
Yes.
By the way.
Thank you. Yes.
Your family is so beautiful.
Thank you.
How was that? I mean, how old were you when? How old were you when you had your first child?
Let's see. I think I was 40.
You're 40.
I guess she just turned 4.
A little different than me.
Yeah, a little bit. I had a running start at it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I would say, I think it was in my late 30s.
Yeah.
Right. And I met Amanda, and I knew she was going to be an incredible mother, you know.
Your instinct just told you that.
Yeah, it just told me,
like,
you know. And I think a family is what we wanted with each other, right?
Yeah.
So you know, so we were like, it's time. And then as soon as I found out she was pregnant, I mean, same thing, right? I was just like, all right, I think I'm going to keep a knife in the back of my pocket at all times. You know, there would be a tank full of gas in the car at all times. You know what I mean? Like, there's just like this level of readiness that was just effortlessly. Like, I had to check a list of boxes on like what I had to have ready, you know. I remember when she was born and I held Nakano, and I thought to myself, oh, that's what they mean by you being able to lift the car.
Yeah.
Like if I had to, I would lift the car and I would flip it over.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
there's this something that happens inside of you, right? And all of that. In the same coin, I would say that there was this profound feeling of belonging, and a fueled purpose to what else can I build now for her? How much bigger can I build the world that she lives around so she can inherit, you know, better shots than I ever did, right? Like I started getting too philosophical about it, you know? I started thinking about the big pictures and how am I going to move the needle forward and how farther along I'm going to take the torch, so by the time she inherits the torch, she doesn't have to climb as steep, or she doesn't have to, you know, run as long, you know, to kind of get there.
You think you got that from your pop?
I think so.
Yeah.
He did that for me, right? I mean, I think I would say that my dad sacrificed everything. My mom sacrificed everything to give us a better shot than they did. Yeah. And I will never forget one thing that my dad said, which was, mijo, we came to America to work. I need you to get the education that I never had.
Yeah.
And by the way, you know, that meant I got a high school diploma, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I set the bar very low, as you could tell. Set the bar very low.
You did a LeBron. You went pro. Right
Yeah, you know, I got scouted very quickly. Off of high school, you know, I was.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so yeah. But I think to your point, you know, he had passed down this sense of you're next, you know, and I think in many ways, I took the job of the man of the house or the father figure of the house very quickly in my early 20s. As soon as I was being the breadwinner of the house, I think that's why I feel like, you know, my family, you know, was a later evolution because I had dedicated myself making sure my parents had everything that they never had.
Right.
You know, and my sisters have the safety that, you know, we grew up kind of not having, right? Like, that to me felt like the first phase of manhood. Right. You know, and once I had achieved that everybody has everything they need, I felt like then I put myself next.
Necessity is the mother of all invention, right? So because of the necessity, it drove you to invent you and your company, and you as a product, right?
Yeah, and I think to your point, not until I felt that job was done. And I mean, look, we're individuals. We have to put ourselves last, right? Because that's just culturally, it's kind of how it works, right? So as soon as I felt I had achieved the safety and the well-being of my family, my mom and my dad, I felt like then I was next.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if it's healthy. I don't know if it's not healthy. But I think it is kind of a mentality. Like your first job is to make sure the house and your mom and your parents and everybody have what they need. And then you move on to yourself, right? Like you put yourself at the end of that list. And I think I had achieved it. And, you know, I was always longing to be a parent, you know? So, but that's one thing I remember. As soon as I held my child, as soon as I held Nakano, I felt that the purpose I had self-proclaimed for myself have become one of, you know, what's next for her, which in retrospect turned into what's next for this generation. What are we creating? What are we leaving behind? It made me dream, and I was a big dreamer, but it made me dream a little bigger for sure.
Wow. Yeah. But she needs a partner in crime, though.
Yes. She needs you know, and I would say this, Amanda is, you know, as some of you may know, Amanda is expecting. Hey, ay, que rico, another baby. And we were very, very, very excited for Nakano and very excited for ourselves.
Congrats. Bro.
But the big question was like, when? You know, like when? I mean, and we were just letting it happen and all that stuff. But I think one of the things that I felt like we did pretty good for ourselves, this is like just in our case, was that we waited enough time that we could really enjoy Nakano and all her little faces before we introduced a second child.
Yeah.
And this next child came at her, she just turned 4. Yeah. You know, so to me, she'll be Santa's little helper. You know, she's so much more aware. She's actually excited about the arrival.
Yeah, that's a good span.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know, usually the rule of thumb is like finish wiping one butt before you
start the other one.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about diapers, and now we're bringing it back in, you know?
You can be wiping butt, bro.
I know.
4 in the morning. And you know what's wonderful about having my sons are older now. And
you're still wiping their butts.
They're still wiping their butts, correct? You know, I remember when my oldest son turned 19, you know, it was his birthday. He had a balloon and a cake and all that. I remember looking at him. I was like, I was exactly your age when I had you. And his eyes were like, I was like, wow. Like,
that's crazy.
I was like, think about that. Could you have a child right now at your age?
What was their answer?
I was like, absolutely not. I mean, you know, they were like, dude, I'm just like,
Dad, you know, they don't make them like you anymore.
You know, he's like, absolutely not. My other son, when he turned 23, I was like, I was exactly your age when I had you. How do you feel about that? You know, but it really makes them think. It puts things into perspective, you know.
Also, I have real perspective for you and your lady. Like what you guys, I wouldn't say you gave up, but I would say what you've had to become at a time where they're still becoming.
Yeah, we were kids, you know. So you know, people always say, it must be so cool. Like you had kids at such a young age. Yeah, there are aspects of it that's cool. You know, we're like empty nesters now. We're still young enough where we can travel and do what we do. But, you know, at that age, you're still a kid yourself, you know. Thank God we had pretty decent upbringings and had pretty good moral compasses and codes and integrity and stuff that was just inherent that we could pass down. But other than that, you're still a kid yourself, you know. You're still growing up yourself. You're still making mistakes yourself. Totally. And so, you know, you know, when you say, "Wow, I was 40," I'm like, "Well, dude, you're like mature now," and so you're able to bestow all this wisdom and patience, and you have patience for kids that age. And I mean, will you have less energy than you would when you're like 20?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I still feel like with tons of energy. You know? But I do a lot during the day. Like I think if I did less, I'd probably have more energy. You know, like I'm working out at 4:30. You know, I'm going to set at 7. I'm done by like 6:30, 7 p.m. I come home to a couple of emails, a couple of reads. Yeah. You know, and then I got to clock in with my daughter, you know. So like that, there is something like very physical that happens when you put yourself through that kind of regimen during the day. Right. But I definitely am getting better at just creating that space and creating the thing. But so I haven't talked about what Amanda's having. Right? So I will say to you that I am having a boy.
Ho!
Como?
Go!
So we're
balancing it out, baby.
We're having a boy, and we couldn't be more excited to have the pair, right? Because
you have a name? Or you have a name?
There is a name.
Okay.
I can't. I'm gonna let her announce that because she let me name Nakano, and she went along with the name, and had a very controversial name because people were like, "What? This doesn't sound."
What
like
made
whatever.
you choose that name?
It's the last name of a very, very famous honorable geisha, which is a female warrior of Japan. Yeah. And to me, in the lamest terms, it's like a female samurai. Right. And she has schools and a town named after her. And so I just thought to myself, like, I named her after a warrior from a land in where her mom and her dad had not just only fallen in love and said, "I love you" for the first time, but when she became a possibility. Wow. So we named her after a warrior from there. Because I also said to myself two things. One, she has a story to tell. And two, when she's on her first date with somebody and somebody asks her, "What's your name mean?" she can say, "It's a female samurai."
And I'll chop your head off.
Yes, yes. So
if you do anything.
Now please add with honor. Please approach me with honor.
Right,
you know?
right.
So that stuff was important to us for the name, you know. But the next name, I'm gonna let her announce it. But I'm excited. I'm buying it.
Will Jr.
Imagine. It's up to me. He'd be Wilmer Jr. You know, he'd be Wilmer Jr. for sure. But as a father of two boys. What advice would you have for someone like me?
Oh, man, what advice? Wow. I mean, I can go down a long laundry list. You know, they emulate their fathers, right? They emulate even your daughter emulates aspects of you and aspects of your mom. And so never think that they're not watching. They're always watching. right? And so you can say whatever, you can teach them verbally lessons or what have you, but they're always watching.
Right.
And so, you know, if you're gonna, and look, we're not perfect, right? We're all human beings, but be mindful that they're always watching. And so, you can say whatever you want. Your words can say that, but your actions will speak louder.
That's beautiful right there. That's really. I mean, I reflect on my own father when you said that because yeah, my dad was a man, or is, thank the Lord, I still have him with me. He's a man of honor, right? Respect. He's so kind. He's so giving.
Yeah.
He is a clown. He's like as much of an idiot as I am. And
I haven't hung out with him like that. He's always he's pretty shy when he's around me.
Yeah. I mean, like he's obviously a little more comfortable with one or two in. You know what I mean? But you know, once you get him going, man, he's just all jokes.
Okay,
you know? He's all jokes.
Yeah.
My mom is the police. But he is definitely
she was
the
a
circus.
disciplinarian of the house.
Circus, yeah. And so I'm kind of the circus for Nakano. Amanda is like the very soft and patient and arts and crafts and adventure mom. You know.
But who's going to be the disciplinarian in the house?
I think it's probably going to be me.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm gonna be a clown first, most likely, because that's my pattern now. You know, but you know, but it can switch really quickly. You know, if. You know, for perspective, that is.
Are you doing the chancleta?
Chancleta, yes. Never a hand, only chancleta. Chancleta is a multi-generational proven tactic. You know, it's very soft, but it is dramatic.
It's threatening.
It's dramatic. Like, you know, the you can have a chancleta fly like a ninja star across the room.
Yep.
And when it misses you, you know that it had potential to. So something ingrains and you kind of change your tune, you know.
So for those who don't know, a chancleta is a sandal. Usually a what do you call this, Wilmer? An not open toe.
Yeah, they're like a sandal.
Like a sandal.
Yeah.
And when you would act up as a kid, your mom would take the sandal
It's quite
out.
literally a beach sandal. One of those like you wear with like your swimming trunks. Like moms wear those all day at home.
Yep.
That's like the universal mom footwear.
Yep.
You know, in every household. And so it's very accessible, easy to take off, and it actually takes flight in a very aggressive way.
It takes flight.
I mean, it comes at you very quick.
Ninja star aspects to it, you know.
I mean, if it wasn't because it comes from, you know, with this high, like this really loud greens and blues and oranges, you would never see it coming. You would never see it coming.
And usually moms get those chancletas from whatever place they visited. So my mom would have chancletas that would say Puerto Rico on it.
I love New York. I love New York chancletas are the ones that hit the worst. Those are a lot more heavy.
Those specifically hit the worst.
Those specifically, for some reason, they land hard. Yes.
Yeah. She would have Puerto Rico with like maracas on the thong part right here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But it was always met with a threatening manner. Like, you better.
Yeah, I never wanted to get hit with a Las Vegas. I love Las Vegas chancleta because it came with rhinestones and they scratch.
They come with rhinestones.
They scratch. They leave marks. Yeah. And now we haven't even talked about the belt.
Oh man!
When do you introduce the symbolism of the belt?
Wow!
Because my dad,
is that even in on this generation?
Well, this generation don't know. They don't know why you would take a belt off. Like nobody really can fathom what a belt could be used for, other than like to hold your pants up.
But what would your dad? You were about to say, what would your dad do?
Well, the symbolism of taking the belt.
He'd be there looking you in the eye,
like the sound of like click, 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 click.
Right.
You know, blah, 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 like just out of all the hoops, you know.
Yeah.
And in the hand, like my dad never swing. He never hit me with the belt.
But it was
just that click, 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 click. It's like, okay,
and some threatening words.
Oh yeah, it's
the
happening.
Belt and some the imagery.
This is how my life ends.
The imagery and some threatening words behind it was.
My mom was not shy of making that chancleta fly. No, you know.
She made contact.
Yeah, but my dad, you know, I would say this to a lot of dads. One of the things that my dad did. My dad never hit us. Mm-hmm. And I think it's why it was so scary.
Yeah.
That's the reason why it was so scary. Because I never knew what it would feel like. Because at some point, and I think any son knows this now, that at some point your mom, she's the disciplinary, right? So she's the one like with the chancleta or the broomstick or whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
But at some point, the chancleta stops hurting.
Right.
For a young boy, right? So at that point, how many of you at home have pretended that it hurts just to get your mommy to stop? Like, oh, mommy, no. And then she stops. She goes, okay, she stopped, you know?
Your mom loses muscle mass.
Yeah,
so,
it's like it doesn't swing as hard as
not as hard.
you know? And, but yeah, just the thread of the belt is was that symbol, the symbol of discipline. That.
So I take it you're not going to be that when your son is born. And
no, I mean, look, I here's the thing. I think that will he ever get a chancleta from Amanda? Probably.
Right.
Probably she will get a chancleta. Right. She's half Mexican, so it's in her. For me, I think there is a level of communication that that we have to practice really early on with kids. And the most important thing to me is understand consequences.
Yeah.
Consequences. As a practice is what I probably will prevent any type of violence at home, and, you start there. But I think looks are very important.
Uh-oh. Watch out.
That's you don't, you don't want that.
Viene la correa.
You don't want that because what follows is la correa, the belt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's interesting. Did you have, like, with your boys, was there a point in their life where you were like, I mean, do I have to get physical for them to understand me? Because I feel like they seem like really nice.
Yeah, not really, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe a few times. No. And a lot of this credit goes to Elsie, my wife. She talked to them. She's not afraid to get in there and have hour-long conversations. And a lot of it is just like, I feel like kids at that age just want to be heard.
Right.
They want to feel like you're not talking down to them. They want to feel respected.
Or just barking orders.
Yeah, no, and trust me, a lot of times it came down to that. But a lot of it was her listening to them and really trying to understand their perspective and us trying to communicate our perspective. And so there was just a lot of talking in the house. She would take them to school and they would have long conversations in the car about that.
Wow.
Me talking a lot with them till this day. It's funny because they're older now. And I say to them, look, I'm still your dad, right? Like, obviously I can't send you on a timeout or I can't punish you. So now I'm just your closest advisor. Right? Because there's nobody in this world who cares more for you than me or your mom, right? So every word that comes out of your mouth that pertains to advice is for your well-being, right? So I'm your closest advisor.
Right.
And so that's ultimately what you become to them.
Right. Makes sense. No, that makes absolute sense. Nakano, at a very younger age, we were talking to her. We weren't like, go here, go there, do that. Yeah. And I think Amanda has done a beautiful job of saying like things like, honey, you can walk yourself into the bathroom, you can stand up and do your business, and you can do it. You can really do it. And she's like, are you sure, mommy? I think I want you to come with me. She goes, well, I'll stand at the door with you. And all. So she really rations. And at some point she starts doing these things independently. So Nakano has her level of communication has really, really grown. And I think a lot of it has to do with Amanda is very good at talking to her. Yeah. Amanda doesn't yell at her, doesn't scream, doesn't anything. Just like, she just talks to her. Yeah. Like, hey, I need to do your hair. She goes, no, mommy, I don't want to. Well, I need to do your hair because you have such a pretty dress and you're going to go to school. And what you do before you go to school, we go outside, you do your hair very pretty. So it goes with your outfit. And she goes, oh, okay, then I want princess hair. And then therefore they're saying, it's like this flow, Yeah. Which feels really cool. But
yeah, I think our generation was more like the tough generation, right? Yeah. Like, dads and moms took no mess, right? So it's like you acted up, the belt came out right away. And so there was a lot of discipline. Right. And then I felt like after that came sort of this kind of love, new agey generation, and no disrespect to that generation either or that parenting style. But then there was a lack of discipline and accountability and all the stuff that came with that. I'm more of I think that there should be a healthy balance between the two. You know, a healthy balance of discipline in whatever form suits your family. With love, but there has to be love, man. Love is the key component. Kids feel love. You know, what's that saying? You don't remember what someone says, but you remember how they make you feel.
Yeah.
Right. And that applies to parenthood as well.
Yeah. And by the way, a sense of humor.
Oh yeah.
You know, you gotta have a sense of humor. You gotta tell them it's okay to laugh. It's okay to be silly. It's okay to do that. I mean, I feel like what's one thing that I think Ana kind of has really benefited from. She is such a little payasa, bro. Like she's coming into the house and she's just making the voices, and like she had like old lady day at school, and she got
old lady day,
where all the kids got dressed like their, grandparents or something, and she was just like super committed, and like she
was a character.
Old lady, daddy, she's like such a clown little clown. But I feel like that's such a great exercise for them to like play all these different characters. She like is untapping all these different things.
What about when she was playing you the other day?
Oh yeah,
remember that?
Yes.
For the viewers, I come into Wilmer's office and the Nakano has a gun. Or no, what was that? It was like a.
It was a Nerf. It was a Nerf. No, actually, it launched little planes.
Yeah. And she was running around saying, NCIS!
Yeah, she was like, NCIS! On the floor, hands up, no!
And I was like, dude, she's doing you,
but man. She's making the face, and I was like, yeah, we play characters all the time. She's like such a little actress.
But she's emulating her father. Like, she saw you do that on TV, and now she's doing it. Which goes to my point, right? It's not what you say, it's your actions is what they see you do.
Yeah. I think this is super helpful, when we think about this multi-generational inheritance and how we pass down, fatherhood. What does fatherhood look like for your kids? What is it going to look like for their kids? You know, how do they carry on with these traditions? I think our culture has so much that really works. When it comes to the hard-working trade, the sharing, the celebratory trades. Like, we know how to celebrate. We know how to work hard. And we're big lovers, man, and I think as long as the music keeps playing at home, there's going to be some kind of harmony, some kind of energetic, therapeutic, energy at home.
Yeah, you have, I guess, and we'll end this by saying, it's going to be a tough one. Well, I guess it's tough every generation comes with its own things, right? And like Nakano is 4, is she 4 now? And then you have your new child, and so you're dealing with a whole other plethora of like social media. Like, social media didn't exist when my kids were young, so.
And how quickly it changes, right? Like every 5 or 10 years or something different. So imagine when Nakano turns 14.
What's it gonna be?
What would be the social media platform then? What is the content that's kind of sweeping kids' attention? Like that kind of stuff is something that we're going to have to kind of adjust and kind of evolve with.
I think that you have to be cognizant that you're human, and that happens, and that there are times where you're on your phone a little too much when your kid is trying to talk to you. You're so driven to attain certain heights in your career that sometimes that takes precedence, right? And that's all normal in the path. I think what's important is that you're aware, right? And that you're aware, and that there's a constant self-check in that.
Right.
Because it goes by really, really fast, man. Nakano's 4 now. She'll be 14, then she'll be 24, then she'll be 34. All of a sudden, you'll be a granddad,
Right.
And it goes by like this. And so it's just important that every single day you realize that it's going pretty damn fast. And be aware of her presence and how much time you're giving her.
Right.
And if days, there are going to be days where you slip, where you don't have the right balance, and that's okay too. And you're human, and you have to forgive yourself, and you have to just check it and then keep moving on.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot on my plate myself, and I think the finding of the balance is something that Amanda and I are really, really working on. You know, we love taking little trips here and there and all that stuff. You know, the bandwidth for that sometimes when the seasonal areas when I'm locked in on a show and we're in pre-production for other things, you know, makes it a little more difficult. But one way that I've balanced that is by, you know, allowing and creating a space at work where they can come and visit. You know, and I know that a lot of careers don't empower that. Yeah. But if you do have a lunch hour and your family is down to show up to your work and have a little lunch with you, that's an easy way to do it, right? Or like, you know, the family wants to, you know, you're about to get off work and everyone wants to go meet at a restaurant and let's go have Korean barbecue. Like, love it. That kind of stuff, it like closes your day and allows you to have something to remember tomorrow and then the next day and the next day because you have things to look forward to. I'm lucky enough that during my lunch, you know, Amanda and Akana would just pop in, you know, and I'll just have lunch with them instead of by myself in my trailer, you know, waiting for, you know, the lunch to be over. So that's the kind of balance, you know, that you kind of want to find, especially because our jobs are incredibly demanding. Yeah. And they're not realistic. The amount of hours that we work during the day, nobody knows about. Yeah. Right? Nobody has any sympathy for the amount of work that it takes to creatively tell a story, and most importantly, the focus that it comes with that, and the toll that it takes on you, and you know, nobody has sympathy for that either, right? Which is fine, you know, like none of us are asking for it, right? But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to our personal lives and the humanity that we have to continue to be connected to, if we're going to be good performers, we have to make space for that too. And you know, if there is a Friday off, you know, then like maybe you use a little bit of the morning for your meetings and stuff like that, and then maybe use the afternoon to go on a little road trip to Sunday. Like that's the kind of stuff that I feel like we really got to put the foot down on. And I'm trying to, you know, listen, I don't have the, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't have the perfect balance for that. But we're definitely trying to really practice it. But it's a great reminder also for all of us, no matter what profession, what career, you so focus on being good at the job you have so you can hold that space and hold that job because it provides, you know, this stability and this safety for your family. Let's never forget, though, why you get up in the morning in the first place, you know, why you do it all for. You can work so much and achieve so much, but the reason why you do it is because you're also trying to share that, you know, that safety with your family, and also you got to enjoy them. Last advice I was giving before I became a father, he goes, just make sure you enjoy your family. Just enjoy your family. Yeah. As much as you possibly can, enjoy it. Tap into it. There's nothing like, oh, I haven't seen my boys, or I haven't had a girls' night, or like in a long time, whatever, which I know that feels like something that's fulfilling because it's escape, and it's also a little bit of like an outburst of, you know, energy, and that's very important to make time for. I would say it's also just equally as critical to just enjoy the time you have with your family. You know, that's that was one of the best things I ever heard. Just enjoy them. Yeah. Enjoy your family. You know, you're not just taking care of them. They're there so you can enjoy them, you know. Yeah, and you're bonding, you know, that's important to continually build that bond. Right. Whether it's through the holidays, whether it's through family trips, whether it's just through like dinner on a Sunday. Yeah. You know, us as humans have to continue. I mean, look. And it's the little things. It's the little things, man, right? They're always going to be your child. But there are people who are parent and child who have no bond and no communication and no synergy and no nothing, you know. And you're human. You have to continually work at trying to build that. Right. And sometimes people forget that you have to put the effort to do that. Yeah. They think it's instantaneous because you're related. Right. Well, this is great. And it's a great reminder for both of us. We continue to stay busy and doing our careers, but you've done it beautifully. You have a beautiful family. So I had all those questions. Thank you for answering all of those. Sir. And, you know, another beautiful conversation with you, man. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. Yes. Hope you found a little healing, a little direction, a little inspiration, you know. And for those soon to be parents for the first time, congratulations. Nothing changes. It all just evolves. Some people tell you everything's gonna change. Don't You don't let anybody tell you the horror stories first and then tell you, but you're going to be fine. Because that's how they're like this and this and this, and you don't do this anymore, but you're going to be fine. Like, no, you are going to be fine because you're just evolving into the next phase of your life. That being said, I'm Wilmer Valderrama.
I'm Freddy Rodriguez.
Thank you for tuning in to Fatherhood, and see you guys in the next episode of Dos Amigos.